"You don't deserve a girl like me." She smirked while texting another guy, so I walked away without a word. Now she's begging for a second chance, and I don't even reply. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I always thought loyalty would be enough. When I was with Samantha, I believed that if I kept showing up, if I was reliable, if I did all the small things right, the flowers on random days, the late night drives when she couldn't sleep, the quiet, "I got this," whenever her car broke down, it would add up to something that mattered. We'd been together a little over 2 years, and I wasn't naive. I knew relationships weren't fairy tales, but I thought we had built something steady, safe, and real. At least, that's what I told myself every time I ignored the little cracks forming. Samantha was magnetic. People noticed her when she walked into a room. Not just because she was beautiful, though she was, but because she had this way of pulling attention to herself. She thrived on it. When we first started dating, I liked that about her. I was the quiet one, the steady one, and she was the spark. Together, I thought we balanced each other. But lately, the balance had started to feel more like weight. It started small. She'd criticize my clothes when we went out. "Babe, that shirt looks so basic. Can't you wear something with more style?" Or she'd tease my car. "Ugh, the way this thing rattles when you hit 60, don't you ever get embarrassed?" I brushed it off. I told myself that's just how she joked, that she didn't mean it. But when you hear little cuts enough times, they stop sounding like jokes and start sounding like truth. The real problem was her phone. She was always on it. Not in the way everyone is, but glued to it, smirking at texts, holding her screen away from me, typing furiously with that look of satisfaction like she was in on some joke I wasn't part of. One night, it all boiled over. We were sitting in her apartment after dinner, and she was scrolling while I was talking about work. I asked if she was even listening. She didn't look up. "Relax," she said. "I'm multitasking." "Feels like you're not even here half the time anymore," I told her. That's when she looked up, finally, with this little smirk that I'll never forget. Her phone was still in her hand, thumb hovering over the screen. "You don't deserve a girl like me," she said. Just like that. No build-up. No hesitation. Said it as casually as someone commenting on the weather. Then she went back to typing. For a second, I thought I misheard. "What did you just say?" I asked. She didn't even glance at me. "I'm just saying, you're lucky. Guys like you don't usually get girls like me." And sometimes, I wonder if maybe I settled too soon. It hit me harder than I expected. I had put 2 years into this, had been there for every bad day, every meltdown over her classes, every fight she had with her mom. I had been the steady one, the anchor. And she was sitting there, texting God knows who, telling me to my face that she was too good for me. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just sat there, feeling the floor shift under me. "Right?" I finally said, keeping my voice even. "Good to know." She rolled her eyes. "Don't get all dramatic. I'm just being honest. You're a nice guy, but sometimes I feel like I could do better." Better. That word sat in my chest like a stone. I didn't reply. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a fight. Instead, I excused myself, grabbed my jacket, and left her apartment. Walking to my car that night, I remember the cold hitting my face harder than usual. I remember gripping the steering wheel and staring at the dashboard, realizing for the first time that the person I had been pouring myself into, supporting, sacrificing for, saw me as nothing more than average. Disposable. And the worst part? She said it with a smirk, like she thought I'd never have the guts to walk away. That was the first real crack. And once you see a crack, you can't unsee it. The weeks after that night were different. Something in me shifted. I stopped trying so hard. Stopped chasing her attention. I think she noticed, but instead of asking what was wrong, she seemed almost relieved. She went out more. Girls' nights that didn't make sense, late replies to texts, inside jokes I wasn't in on. I wasn't stupid. I knew there was someone else. I just didn't have proof. That proof came one Saturday night. We were at a mutual friend's birthday party. Samantha had been glued to her phone all night, laughing at messages that clearly weren't from me. She barely touched her drink, which was unusual. She was waiting for something. Or someone. Halfway through the night, it happened. Derek, the guy I'd always noticed hanging around her Instagram comments, walked in. He didn't bother being discreet. Went straight up to her, kissed her cheek like they'd been together for years, and put his arm around her waist. And she let him, right in front of me, like I didn't exist. The music was loud, people were laughing and dancing, but in that moment it all faded into static. I felt eyes on me, people noticing, waiting for me to react. I didn't. I walked over, calm, steady, like I wasn't watching my relationship implode in front of an audience. Can we talk outside? I asked her. She smirked, that same smirk from before, and said, fine. We stepped out into the cool night air, away from the noise. She crossed her arms, already defensive. So, she said, like I was the one with explaining to do. You want to tell me what that was? I asked. She rolled her eyes. Don't make this a big deal, okay? Derek and we've been talking. For a while. Honestly, I was going to tell you, but I didn't know how. I stared at her. You're seeing him? While you're with me. Her voice sharpened. We were basically over anyway. You've been so distant, so boring. I need someone who actually excites me. Excites you? I repeated, my voice flat. She nodded, like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. Yeah. Look, you're a nice guy, but nice doesn't cut it forever. Derek gets me. He challenges me. You just play it safe. And I can't live like that. There it was. The translation of every little jab, every joke at my expense. Every night, she'd rather text than talk. I wasn't enough for her. Not flashy enough. Not unpredictable enough. Not better enough. I could have yelled. I could have demanded answers, made a scene, begged her to reconsider. Instead, I just breathed. Okay, I said. Her eyes narrowed. Okay. Yeah, I said. If that's how you feel, then go. Be with Derek. She blinked, like she expected a meltdown. That's it. You're not even going to fight for me. I shook my head. If I have to fight to keep you, you were already gone. For the first time all night, her smirk slipped. You'll regret this, she said sharply. Guys like you don't just find girls like me. You don't deserve someone on my level. I looked her in the eye and replied, calm as ever. Maybe not. But I also don't deserve someone who treats me like this. And with that, I turned and walked back inside. I didn't check if she followed. I didn't glance back at Derek, who looked smug as hell with his arms still around her. I just grabbed my jacket from the couch, nodded goodbye to a couple of stunned friends, and left. I went home to a quiet apartment, sat on the edge of my bed, and realized something that hit harder than the betrayal itself. She wasn't even sad to lose me. She thought she'd traded up. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to chase, beg, or try to prove my worth to someone who had already decided I wasn't enough. If she wanted Derek, she could have Derek. I was done. The days after the party felt strange. Not explosive, not chaotic, just empty. I had half expected her to at least send a message, maybe some cruel follow-up to rub it in. But Samantha didn't text me. She didn't call. She didn't check if I was okay. It was like 2 years together had vanished in a puff of smoke, and she was already living her better life. I thought that would hurt more than it did. Instead, it clarified things. On Sunday, I went to her place. Not to beg, not to argue, just to grab the last of my things. She wasn't there. Derek's car was out front, parked in the space I used to back into every weekend. That sight should have gutted me. Instead, I felt oddly calm, like I was looking at the end credits of a movie I'd already seen. Inside her apartment, most of my stuff was untouched, my hoodie still folded on the couch, a couple books on her shelf, a toothbrush in the bathroom. I packed them into a duffel bag, left her spare key on the counter, and walked out. No note, no message, nothing, just silence. And honestly, the silence was louder than any fight we could have had. The first week was rough, though. I'd come home from work and reach for my phone out of habit. Then I'd remember there was no one to text, no one waiting to hear about my day. My apartment felt colder, my bed too big. I'd catch myself scrolling through old photos. The trip we took to the coast, her laughing at something stupid I said, the way she used to curl up against me like I was her safe place. But then the memories would shift. Like the time she cried because her car broke down after class. I left work early, drove across town, and spent 3 hours in the freezing rain getting it started again. She didn't even say thank you, just complained about missing dinner with her friends. Or the time she failed her chemistry midterm and called me in tears. I stayed up all night helping her study for the retake, even though I had a big meeting at work the next morning. She passed. I nearly bombed the meeting. Or the weekend I skipped a fishing trip with my buddies, something I'd been looking forward to for months, because she said she just didn't feel like being alone. She spent most of that weekend scrolling on her phone while I sat there, pretending not to notice. I had given so much of myself. Time, energy, patience. And in return, I got what? A smirk and the words, "You don't deserve a girl like me." The more I thought about it, the less the silence felt like punishment. It started to feel like peace. So I leaned into it. I deleted her number, blocked her on Instagram, Snapchat, everything. Not out of anger, but because I didn't want to give myself the option to check up on her. I knew if I saw her posts, the happy pictures with Derek, the captions about living her best life, it would dig under my skin. Instead, I filled the space she left. I went to the gym. At first it was just something to do with the hours I used to spend waiting on her. But it became routine, then progress, then actual change. I started saying yes to friends again. Weekends away, late-night beers, spontaneous road trips. I had missed those things more than I realized. I even threw myself into work, volunteering for projects, staying late because I wanted to, not because I was avoiding going home to an empty apartment. It wasn't instant. Some nights still sucked. Some mornings I woke up with the echo of her laugh in my head and had to shake it off. But the silence started teaching me something. I had been living in her orbit for 2 years. Now, I finally had room to live in my own. And the best part? I knew she hated silence. Samantha thrived on attention, the texts, the validation, the little gasps from friends when she told her dramatic stories. For the first time since I'd met her, I wasn't giving her that anymore. No arguments. No pleas. No closure speech. Just nothing. And I had a feeling, deep down, that sooner or later, the silence would get to her. For a while, I didn't hear a word from Samantha. I knew from mutual friends that she and Derek were posting pictures like crazy. Dinners at expensive restaurants, trips to the lake, selfies with captions like, "Finally with someone who gets me." I ignored it all. I didn't block mutual friends, but I trained myself not to ask. When people try to bring her up, I shut it down with a quick, "I don't keep up with her." And honestly, life without her was lighter. But then, little by little, the tone shifted. The first crack came when my buddy Jason pulled me aside at work. He hesitated, then said, "Hey, you know Samantha's not doing so hot, right?" I raised an eyebrow. "Didn't she just post about a trip with Derek?" Jason smirked. "Yeah, except Derek went with 2 other girls too. And apparently, he didn't even pay for her ticket. She did. Word is, he's been using her. Drinks, rent, the works." I let that sink in. I wasn't surprised. Derek had always been flashy, the kind of guy who looks good in photos but never has his wallet when the bill comes. The next crack came through Instagram, even though I had her blocked. A friend showed me one of her cryptic posts, a black screen with white text that said, "Some people don't appreciate loyalty until it's gone." I almost laughed out loud at the irony. Then came the first attempt. It was a Wednesday night, a few months after the breakup. My phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. The text read, "Hey, it's me. Been thinking about you. How are you?" I stared at it for a moment. The old me would have replied instantly. Would have been relieved she finally remembered I existed. But that guy was gone. I deleted the message. A week later, another text came. Longer this time. I know I messed up. I was confused. Derek isn't who I thought he was. But you were always good to me. I miss that. I miss us. I didn't reply. The third attempt was a call. I saw her name pop up because she'd clearly borrowed someone else's phone to get around the block. I let it ring. She left a voicemail. Her voice was shaky, almost rehearsed. "Look, I know I hurt you. I know I said things I didn't mean. But can't we just talk? Just once. You don't have to decide anything. I just need to see you." I saved the voicemail. Not because I cared, but because it reminded me how far the tables had turned. The fourth attempt was different. Angry. It was a Friday night, and I had just gotten back from the gym when my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. The text was venomous. "Wow. So this is who you are? After everything I gave you, you can't even give me the decency of a reply? You think you're too good for me now? You'll regret this." I remember sitting there in my kitchen, reading it while eating leftover chicken and rice. I actually smiled. Because that was the Samantha I remembered. The one who couldn't stand not having control, not being the center of someone's world. But her anger didn't move me. It only confirmed what I already knew. She hadn't changed. She didn't miss me. She missed having someone to drain. And for the first time since the night she smirked at me across her apartment, I felt completely free. The real ending came a couple months later. A mutual friend, Emily, invited me to her birthday party. I almost didn't go, knowing Samantha might show up. But by then, I wasn't scared of that. I was curious, in a detached way, to see how she'd spin her story. When I walked in, I didn't even notice her at first. I was too busy catching up with old friends, people I hadn't hung out with much during my Samantha years. But eventually, I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned. There she was. Samantha didn't look like the glowing Instagram version of herself. She looked tired, pale, a little worn down. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Hey," she said softly. Hey, I replied, neutral. She shifted awkwardly. You look good. Thanks. I didn't return the compliment. There was a pause. Then she launched into it, the speech I knew she'd been rehearsing. I know I don't deserve another chance after the way I treated you. But I've been doing a lot of thinking. Derek, he wasn't what I thought. He used me, lied to me, and it made me realize what I lost. You were the only one who really cared, who really loved me, and I was too blind to see it. I let her talk. I didn't interrupt. I just watched her squirm. Finally, she whispered, "Can we start over?" There it was. The full circle. I took a breath, then gave her the only closure she was ever going to get. You're right, I said calmly. You don't deserve another chance. You had one. You chose Derek. You told me I didn't deserve a girl like you. And maybe you were right about that, because I deserve someone who respects me, someone who values me. That was never you. Her face went pale. So that's it. After everything, you're just going to walk away? I nodded. I already did. Months ago. You just didn't notice. For a moment, she looked like she might cry. But then her pride kicked in, and she snapped. Fine. Whatever. You'll come crawling back one day. I smiled faintly. No, I won't. And then I walked away, straight back into the laughter and warmth of people who actually cared about me. She stood there, alone, clutching her drink like it was a lifeline. That was the last real conversation we ever had. And the best part? I didn't even think about her on the drive home. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.